Good evening, everybody. Live in the pits of Metal and Motor Chaos. Your host, Dave. I got online my guitarist, Joe Walla. How you doing, Joe?
What's happening, Big Dave? Hope everything's well.
So how's it going in Cali?
Cali's cool. You know, the weather's hotter than hell, like it shouldn't be. It's supposed to be wintertime. I guess you know how it goes.
Nah, it's at 9 degrees over here.
Bring it on down here. I can dig the cold weather, brother.
So first question, Joe. When did you start playing guitar?
Yeah, as soon as I popped out of the womb. No, not really, but I've been playing guitar, geez. My mom had a picture of me as a kid with sunglasses and a plastic guitar around the Christmas tree. And I was about 2 years old, so that was kind of an indication. My father brought me a couple of guitars over the years, but, you know, I don't know if you are old enough to remember that cartoon with Quick Draw McDraw with El Gabon. Well, I smashed all my guitars. I didn't learn how to play until about, I'd say probably 11 or 12. My father left the guitar behind when he split, so it was kind of that story, you know. It sounded good. Didn't know how to play guitar till I moved up to Los Angeles, and a couple of my friends started jamming with, and next thing you know, hey, we put bands together, and that was kind of the way it's been ever since.
Now, were you self-taught or you had a teacher?
Honestly, I've been self-taught, so when you're asking me to do, like last night when you was, hey, play some arpeggiated stuff, I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I do what I can, you know, I write songs and you know, and just try to keep everything going, you know, and look for opportunities to share the gift, as they say.
So what guitarists were influential to you?
Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath. The first time I heard Paranoid, the album when I was a kid in 4th grade, when it came out. Does that tell you how old I am already? As I'm aging myself, man, when Sabbath came out with Paranoid. That was the album. When I heard that, I go, I gotta play electric guitar. That guitar was evil.
So are there any guitar players that are out there these days that influence you?
You know, there's so many guys out there that are really awesome. I mean, I can go from like listening to Billy Gibbons to Jeff Beck to, you know, the Stevie Rays, or I mean, there's not one person that really sticks out. Zach Wilde, you know, I'm still kind of Ozzy Sabbath kind of cat. You know, I listen to every kind of rock and roll that there is, so I try not to say one or the other. And even guys like Pete Anderson, who played for Dwight Yoakam, I go, you know, some of these guys are just amazing players. So for me, all these players are, you know, I try to draw influences from everything.
So now, how many bands have you played throughout your career?
Oh, good. I never thought, you know, that was a good question. I'd say at least serious bands, at least 10 to 12 at the most. I mean, probably not even all that. But, you know, I've done some shows along the pathway that, you know, got me signed to Atlantic Records. Got stuff in the Joe Walla band the last, between 2000 and, or 1998 to 2010. Got a lot of airplay and radio play and TV stuff, soundtracks. I mean, and we were unsigned all through that, so that was kind of cool that we did it all on our own.
So now, how many bands have you put out albums with?
Pretty much my own solo stuff, the Joe Walla band, and now the Kings. There was a band called Velocity back in the 80s I got signed to Atlantic Records with, but the story is a typical rock and roll adventure. I got signed from this company, from a lady from Jet Records saw my band play, didn't like the band, said, I got a band for you to play in, and I remember this so well. The guy who played keyboards was the main guy, and he was just a full-blown lush, dude. All he did was drink and party all day long. Typical rock and roll thing, right? That's what you're supposed to do. But we're starting to record tracks for the album in about 82, I think it was. And I think Sabbath was doing Mob Rules, because I got to see Ronnie James Dio every day, and it was kind of funny, because I don't smoke dope every day. Every day I saw him, he was like, dude, you want to get high? So that was kind of cool, but, you know, I'm hanging with some of my heroes, but the studio deal was, this guy was fighting with the engineers religiously, so we got thrown out of the studio at the end of the day. And I go, I'll never make any place with this if I stay with this guy. And that was the last opportunity that I had with that band. So, but we did get signed. It took a little bit to get out of that contract. Fun.
Now do you hang out the Rainbow a lot?
No, I'm not. I'm kind of, if I'm not playing a show, I'm not really a super socialite when it comes to hanging out and just hanging out. I figure I just go and play. I like playing live. I like being able to share the music. I like being able to create I figure I've got a pretty healthy fan base over the years, so I figure if I'm playing live somewhere, I'll hang out with the fans. I don't really like to go out to just to appear someplace and just kind of put on the poser field to me. I don't feel like I need to do that.
Now, have you ever met Lemmy?
I met Lemmy once a long time ago. My regular daytime rock and roll gig isn't really a rock and roll gig, so I work I work for an adult novelty distributor. So I met him through that. One of my friends brought him out to the show in Vegas, and I met him. So he was at our ballroom at one time, so we got to chat for a few seconds. But Lemmy, he's definitely an interesting character.
Now let me ask you this: have you ever met Tony Iommi?
Tony, I never got the chance to meet. I met Jimmy Bain when he was playing. I met Vinny, and I met Ronnie, and all the time that they were coming in, and I never got a chance to meet either. Those guys would either come in and out, and they would be later when we were in the studio, so I never got a chance to meet him, even though he's my hero. I mean, I just bought a poster of him playing, I'm like, I got to get an Iommi photo in my house, because he's the god to me.
Now, would you say Black Sabbath started heavy metal?
Yeah, I would say so, because if you think about it, I mean, maybe you might say MC5. That might be a good thing or something like that. Richie Blackmore, they were all around the same time. I mean, who's really metal? But Sabbath was really, to me, the dark of rock and roll back then,
Yeah, that sound, the heavy sound, Tony Iommi's guitar.
Yeah, I don't see, Zeppelin was heavy, but Zeppelin was blues. They weren't really, people say they're heavy metal, but they really weren't heavy metal, to be honest with you. Sabbath was dark, doom, that was something completely different back in that day. I mean, I don't know who else was in that same, somebody might get on the phone and tell us, hey, this guy was actually the father of the heavy metal, but I think you can't, when it comes to that tone, Tony Iommi was the god.
Yeah, some people say Blue Cheer started heavy metal.
Which one? Blue Cheer, that's true. I grew up in a different, a couple of years after that, that's when I discovered it. So to me, that was my introduction to heavy metal to me, or the sound of doom.
Yeah. Then I've had bands tell me in interviews that the Beatles started with Helter Skelter.
Yeah, it could be debated. That's one of the things about music that's cool. People will say, well, who's the greatest guitar player, right? It's all personal preference. As like kids today are saying Jack White, Jack White was a great guitar player, and I'm like, I'm not overly thrilled, but you know what? It's all personal preference, man, and whatever you like and whatever turns you on, that's all that matters at the end of the day, as long as you're keeping guitar playing alive.
Yep. Now, how did you come up with the name The Kings?
Well, my band, after the Walla band broke up, I was kind of like, there's a lot of issues that go with being the man in the front of the building, you know what I mean? So I try not to, I wanted to share the wealth of it with my players, and the guys that back me up, because I'm not the only guy in the band, but it was getting old here, and you're a star kind of guy. So we did a band called Kings of the Desert, which was a producer I was with, and another friend named Dave, who was the bass player in the Kings as well. But we kind of just shortened it out to The Kings, like the kind. You remember those old T-shirts in the '80s, the kind.
Yeah.
So I just made it The Kings. So it's been been a pretty good run. I mean, we're still developing and doing a lot more touring out this year. We're going to be playing Spokane. We're going to be playing Seattle, possibly in Alberta, Canada. We're doing Bakersfield for the March. I mean, we're doing a lot of drag racing stuff, so it's all combined.
Now, how many recordings does the Kings have out?
We did one. I have a lot of other ones with the Joe Walla band, but that's it. In a Velocity demo somewhere. But in a Magog, I was in a band called Magog as well back in the '80s, another metal band. But I have a few pieces here and there, you know. So not a whole lot of recordings, just per se, because I've given it all away and I don't have anything packaged anymore.
Now the Kings, is that a full album?
We have 8 songs recorded right now, and it's pretty vast variety from some of my old stuff, and we're working on a whole new project right now with, I got Ned Gray, the big kahuna, and I got Jose Ferro, who's my bass player, and we're working on some different ideas and projects for getting a new CD or a new something to shop the band around this year, so we can actually get a little more further out the road instead of sitting in Los Angeles, you know, because it's a big world out there, and it seems right outside of Los Angeles, people want to hear rock and roll, you know?
So now what genre would you consider the Kings?
The Kings are everywhere from, like, being a surf band to being a rock and roll band with a little bit of metal in there. I mean, I play all styles, so it's kind of hard to really say it, but I would say a retro, metal, 70s, 80s rock and roll band. I do a lot of original music, even though we do have some covers in the repertoire, as we say.
Now, how many guitars do you own currently?
I'm 11 away from 100, brother. I got 89. And I've been on a Les Paul kick the last few years, actually. I didn't realize I was going to be a Les Paul fan, because I've always been a Stratocaster player for all these years. And I bought one, and it turned into 10. I'm on a Gibson kick lately, so. And Rock and Roll Relics is another company I just picked up from my buddy at Rusty School Guitars in South Carolina. He sent me this thing, and this thing's awesome, so. Just loving guitars, buddy. I'm not married, don't have any kids, so I call these my kids.
There you go. So the Gibson's your main guitar you playing on stage all the time?
Yeah, I got some Paul Reed Smiths as well. I got a couple of big, what else? I got Hallmark. Hallmark does these crazy custom type of guitars, which is cool. They built a couple of Kings models for me. Peerless guitars. I mean, you name it. My house is just a big collection from one room to the next. You know, it's like overbearing at times. I hate to have to dust them all at one time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, do you have any endorsements?
Yeah, I have endorsements. I got endorsements with my cabinets. I have Mills custom cabinets. I got ISO guitar heads. Let me walk around my house for a second. I got to think. I got Delaney guitars. I got Myers custom guitars. I got XOX audio tools. I got Peerless guitars. Hallmark, I'm kind of on their artist deal. I'm trying to think. I have picks. I had AMT pedals. Oh man, I got to think. I didn't think you were going to ask me about endorsements like that. So yeah, I got action guitar straps. So yeah, I got a few out there. Just to name a few. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Now with the Kings, have you opened for any national bands?
The Kings haven't yet. We are working on doing some of that stuff with these bigger shows this year. I have done some opening acts with, I co-billed with Molly Hatchet, I co-billed with Foghat. We've done shows with Gary Hoey, Joel Turner, Michael Schenker Group. Trying to think who else. Canned Heat. Think about that one. Canned Heat was an interesting one. They were the headliners, and they opened at 6 o'clock at night at one of the shows we played at. We played after them until like midnight.
So you closed out the night?
Yeah. So how's that work? I don't know how that. They can call them the headliners. They probably just made more money.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of shows like that where the headliner goes on there and they got another band playing after them.
Yeah, it's all right. To me, you know what? As long as I got to play, it's kind of an honor to play with all these guys that, you know, you get to do. I've done a lot of shows with YNT. I forgot about YNT. I did 3 shows with them over the years.
Oh, yeah, Dave Menichetti.
Yeah. I got to meet those guys. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've done any real serious major opening act type of thing. That's what we're looking to do this year, you know, trying to get an agent to take care of all this stuff. It's kind of hard doing a lot of it on our own. So if any agents out there are listening and want to hear if they want to help out the Kings go farther up the road, we could use you.
So what's been the fondest memory of your music career?
Oh, man. You know, this would be an interesting thing. I mean, playing with a lot of the guys has been cool. Meeting some of your heroes is always cool. And the best part to me, I think, is when people come up to you and tell you that you've done something for their life. And I remember this one guy up in Sacramento. I was up at the Sienna Field with my friends, and he asked if I was going to be in town, but I wasn't playing. He tracked me down to find out and tell me a story how much my music touched him in a time of that was rough for him. And I thought, wow, this is pretty heavy. So music is when people tell me stories about what music meant to them or what the songs meant to them, those are the memories that are the best to me. Because, you know, if you help somebody go forward and you help them get through a good time or a happy time or a bad time, music is a gift, man. That's what I got to keep saying.
You know, so you've had people come up to you and say the song really touched them?
Yeah. I've had people find stuff on my music out in the middle of Ohio somewhere, and they had my words written down in some poetry book, and I'm like, where did you find my lyrics? Because I don't have my stuff pressed out too far. And it was very interesting that people would tell you the stories and things of what the music had meant to them. So, I mean, if you play music in any kind and somebody sings your songs back to you, that's kind of cool. I mean, there's nothing cooler than actually sharing that gift, you know. And that's what I had a gnarly accident a couple of years ago on a motorcycle, so life kind of changed around. After my band broke up, I was in a piss poor spot in life in my head, you know, and I had a chip on my shoulder like most people do after they lose something important. I had a motorcycle accident, got airlifted off the freeway, and then realized that I was here to play music. So, I mean, that's my drive, is to play music and share the gift that, you know, God has given me to share, you know. So that's, if nothing else, out of anything in my life that mattered, this is the most important thing, to share the gift.
Now, is there any funny or embarrassing moments that you can share on the air?
Yeah, there's always some, because I'm notorious for falling down. I was playing a show at Palladino's one night, and I remember this one. I was going out to do a solo on one of the songs, and I started to, you know, step backwards, and my leg went out, and I put my face right into the drum riser. So I see the bass player coming by, and he's laughing, and I cut my eye open, and he's like laughing. He's just going by me. I remember it's like slow motion. I'm still in the middle of the song. I go, oh shit, I got to get up. So that was pretty funny. We played Qualcomm Stadium out in San Diego for a big biker event, and this is a pretty cool event. That's where I met Danny from Counting Cars and Counts Customs before he was on TV. So this is a pretty cool event. But we were up on scaffolding, and my bandmates and my father were there, and they were betting how much money it would take. They were betting money that it would fall off the scaffolding all night long, because I was jumping on it all night. So that was kind of fun. That was a different embarrassing moment. Your father's betting on you to fall off the scaffold at 8 foot. I can't think of stuff. I mean, embarrassing moments, there's lots of them. You know, you're playing, you're wearing some tight pants, next thing you know, they're split open and you're hanging loose, and the girls are all getting in the angle to take pictures. I'm like, oh shit. It better not be cold out tonight.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, Joe. In your opinion, what are the pros and cons in the music business?
Pros and cons. See, I'm kind of away from it enough, but I'm not. I mean, it's to me currently like Los Angeles, and I'm sure it's in your area that a lot of guys are making money off of tribute bands, and I don't know if that's a big thing for you guys out there, but here tribute bands along with LA and
they make the
San Diego.
Same thing here.
It's huge.
They make the most money here too.
Yeah, but there's no money to be made for guys who write their own songs now.
Exactly.
You know, that's kind of that's my negative. But hey, those guys who are reaping the rewards, don't get me wrong, bros. If you're listening, I'm not kicking you, but to me, my thought at the end of the day still is that I'd rather make money and hear people singing my songs at the end of the night than singing somebody else that already did it. So that, but the pros and cons on music business to me is, it's not like it was back in the 80s. Music's come a long way, and the thing that's interesting about music is the DJs are the ones that make all the money now. If you really think about it, guys sitting behind a spinning songs all night long, they're packing 100,000 plus people in. I've seen some of these shows. I mean, look at Electric Daisy Carnival. All these guys are playing the same beat through the same thing, but the people are digging it and they're packing the seats. You know, and it's not like rock and roll was once upon a time.
Now, what do you think of promoters that do pay to play?
It sucks. I've done plenty of them, and I don't want to do that. I figure, you know what? Pay to play. Well, this is another thing you got to think about. I own a store, or I own a venue, and I call Dave in to come play with his band, and they bring in 2 people. How the hell am I going to stay open? So you've got to be able to push in enough people on both ends. Yes, I got to pay for my rent. So it's fair. It's only fair that if you're not bringing in at least 50 people to a gig, then you should pay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you bring in 50 to 100 people per band and there's 5 bands a night, you know, how much money do you think that guy's making?
Right.
That's $10 a pop, you know, so, and then plus the bar, so it's kind of hard to get paid. And that's why a lot of today's bands, you know, they're playing 3 hours, they're playing cover songs, and that's what we've done on a few places, and, you know, we do some covers in the songs, but it's kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah. Now, Joe, how important is social media to you?
Well, I live on it. You see me on it. I think that it's, you know, when I'm doing these things at home and I just noodle around, and it hits 700 people in the daytime, and one day I go, that's not bad. I wish I could get to, like, you know, 100,000, but you know what? If you're not out there, you don't get found, and that's, people actually see it, and that's what's interesting, because I go places and people, I always see you noodling, man. I always see when you're playing your guitar and this and that, and, you know, we want you to play on the show, so one of these nights I might bring my guitar over to the show and play.
Now, for the Kings, do you have a website for the Kings?
There is one, but the website's going to be revamped, so I won't really, I probably send it to you at a future date. There's the kingsmusic.com, that's what I have, but there's really nothing on it right now, because we've been talking about having some new stuff, and we're going to make a new EPK, so we're going to push all that social media stuff up and get that running. This is the priority for the first part of the year.
Now, for the original music, do you write all the lyrics?
Yeah, I try to write mostly everything, but the guys are starting to help me write, and that's a plus, because I definitely love to have everybody's input on all the songs, because these guys are monsters, and when they figure out some cool stuff, they make it pop. So I want to get more of the input from them guys, because I've been writing songs for a long time, and you know, it's just what happens. But now I've become like more of the guitar player, so I'm not writing lyrics as much, even though I sing. I'm trying not to sing so much. I just want to shred.
Yeah. So, how many times you guys rehearse?
At least 4 or 5 times a month. You know, because we're all pretty busy doing other things. So, you know me. I got the radio thing going on. I got the there's a few other projects in the works as well. So as much as we can, we got our own little like lockout kind of studio that we go to. So Team Sound, so that's a cool place.
Now, how's the fan base for the Kings out in California?
It's kind of scattered actually, because we do travel, and a lot of the now we're going to go tie it all into drag racing, because that's the key. Is most of my fan base is out of drag racing, so they're all over the country.
So in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see the Kings at?
Oh, God willing, we could be playing all over the world, but you never know, man. The dream, you have to have the dream first, and reality is the reality as we get older. How long will the bodies hold up, as they say? I'm hoping if I could do like Mick Jagger and go to about 75, I'll be a happy camper, right?
Yeah. Now, have you ever done any music videos with any bands?
There's a couple of videos out there. I've done some stuff with a buddy of mine, Cody from 91384. There's a video out there that we did for Anger Management. I played on his album, the 91384, on 2 of their albums. That's what the other guys. I've done a couple of videos on our own stuff as my solo stuff. So not too much, but there's been some like TV shows and stuff like that we popped up on and did some live stuff on.
Okay. Okay. So how did you get started in the drag racing?
Let's see. Probably in the late 60s, my father worked at Briggs Chevrolet. Briggs Chevrolet was pretty much a big sponsor for Jungle Gym. So my father, I lived in Jersey at the time, and Englishtown was the track that we used to go to. So I remember going with my friend from school, and my dad would take us, and my dad would be working with Jungle Gym. He'd, leave us on one side of the track, because the kids couldn't go into the pits by then. We're only like 6th graders and 4th graders and 6th graders. And I remember just watching funny cars and parachutes, man. That was the thing when I was a kid. But I just remember my dad was really one of the pickup guys on the crew for Jungle when he came into town. So we always got to see the car, and I didn't really meet Jungle. I don't remember meeting him, but I just remember my father working with him a lot. So that was my introduction to drag racing, and funny cars are the shit for me. So
yeah, Jungle Jim Lieberman was a legend.
Well, I'm pretty good friends with Austin Coyle from Chi-Town Hustler. So I mean, when I got to meet him when the Joe Walla band played back to we had a Nitro funny car wrapped with my name on it. With Dan Horan, who does the nostalgia stuff, and dude, there's nothing cooler than seeing your face and your name on a race car, and on a 40-foot trailer. But Ronnie Swearingen was the crew chief for that car, and he was friends with Austin, and that's how we got to be buddies. We went to go see Austin one night, and then I played in front of him and his wife. I'm sure you heard the interview the other night when he was talking about I was playing guitar off his wife's ass.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of cool, man. I mean, it's like one big family. To me, drag racing's cool, man. I was going to test in Bobby Cottrell's car, but everything's coming up so fast. It's like, okay, he's going to start racing. I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to do it this year or not, but, if it happens, I'm looking to go driving as well. Something else to do in life.
Now, speaking of drag racing, on Nitro Kevin says, hey.
Tell him I said hello. It's good to see him. I'll see him in a couple of weeks with him and Ryan, so it'd be good to see everybody.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice for up-and-coming bands?
Stay true to yourself. Don't listen to other people. If you guys got a good unit together and you believe in yourselves, don't let anything get in between it, because you know what? Once you start getting something going, oh man, you're the best player in the band. Well, don't buy into all that shit, because you know what? You're a team. Even if you are the best player in the band, if you're weakest link, you work on that weakest link and you make them better. If they're only going to play like they do in those TV show, whatever that thing you do, and the guy goes off to be in the Marines, then kick them to the curb and get somebody you need. But stay true to yourselves. Don't buy into anybody else's shit. Just believe in what you do. That's the most important thing about music. Believe in your own path.
No. Now, you ready for some fun questions?
Go ahead, ask away. I told you ask, and I'll just babble on.
What's your favorite food?
Pasta. Any kind of pasta. Lasagna, noodles, and I think maybe sushi might follow that, but that's not on the same menu at the same time, though.
Okay. Favorite beverage, non-alcoholic and alcoholic?
I'm like a carbonation freak, so it has to be like Pepsi products, so Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke, any of that. And then as far as alcoholic, I'm a whiskey guy, so bourbon, big bourbon fan. I've been drinking a lot of Larceny, but I've been like on all kinds of high-end bourbons, you know, from a Vicky to what do we got in the house? I'm looking at what's here. I got Makers, Wolford, War Makers, Hudson River, Hudson River whiskey. How crazy is that? You know it's got to be bad if it's from the Hudson
River. Top 5 favorite bands of a lifetime?
Well, you already know Sabbath. Oh, God, where do I go? I would probably throw the Cars in there because, you know what, they were so quirky and cool. But let's see, where else would I go? Who am I listening to? Oh, man, I got to think of, I've been listening, it's weird because I just pop on Google Play or whatever and I put it in the car. Stone Temple, maybe. I got so, you know, that's kind of a weird question for me because I don't even know where to start. If you saw my music collection, you would say I was just pretty whack because it's just all over. So I'll leave that one open-ended. Those are my tops right there.
First concert you ever attended?
Styx at the Imperial Valley County Fair when they were doing the Equinox tour. They were pretty badass. That's when Styx was cool before they started doing Come Sail Away, you know?
Yeah. Who drinks the most in the Kings?
Who drinks the most? That'd probably be me. If you said smoke, I give that to. If you say smoke, I give that to to the hose man, the hoser. He's the smoke king, and I probably drink more.
Now, besides Tony Iommi, what other musical people inspire you?
Wow, you thought about these questions. I didn't think about any of this stuff, so you just throw me for a loop on this one. Who else inspired me? Damn. You know, inspiration to me is just like in sound of tone. So if I throw you out these weird names, like who was cool? I always liked the Alan Parsons Project, and I always liked the guitar player because he always did cool stuff. Steve Howe was cool. Some of the Chris Isaac guitar tones that he got out, like Wicked Game or Can't Do a Thing, those songs there. And then when it comes to metal, it's like, you know, Ozzy's guys. And everybody who played for Ozzy was a monster. Randy, you know, that was the first. Jakey. I wasn't a Brad Gillis fan. I didn't know why he played there. That was just kind of a weird spot. And of course, Zach. Those are my faves. And the kid that plays with Zach we were both endorsed by the same string company, Dario. So every once in a while I run into him. I go, I can't believe it. I saw him as a kid. He looked just like Randy Rose. I go, this guy's going to be badass one day. And he used to be a monster shredder. So I'm kind of cool to know that this guy's done really well for himself. But I can't think. I mean, that put me right on the spot. So I'm sorry. I couldn't think of anybody else.
Yeah, I used to call him Brad Gillis, Mr. Whammy Bar.
Oh, yeah. On Gillis? Yes.
Yeah.
I never liked that Tony guy. He got that same Tony, hit the bar and let it swing.
Yeah. Now, Joe, if someone gave you $150 million and say, "Hey Joe, can you build me a drag race track?" Where would you build the track, and what kind of features would you put into the track?
Oh, I love this one because I've been thinking about moving up to Montana, dude. I've been I know it's probably be a one or two race out of the season, but that would probably be the place for me to go and build a track. Probably do all concrete, of course. I don't know. I'd probably want to do it if I had that kind of money. I definitely want to make it as state of the art as possible. Make a nice big pit area. Do it so it's really slick for all the guys. There's no confusion. These drag strips when they come into it, it's like a traveling tour, like a rock and roll tour. So it goes together pretty well once these guys get it going. As long as it's safe and you got good guys to keep everybody safe and enough room for fans to get in and out. I mean, that would be the cool thing for me. I don't know. I don't know where they're at anymore. I'm sure there's somebody who's listening to this probably said, "Dude, that guy's a moron." But that would be the place I would put a track at because it's all open land.
Now, Joe, do you have any hobbies outside of drag racing, music, and DJing?
Well, let's see. What do I do besides? I got cars are always a first thing too. I always like cars. I collect a lot of oddball stuff, man. Besides guitars, I got toy cars. I like art. Any hobbies besides? I mean, I'm pretty much consumed with mostly music. That takes up almost. Besides working a day job, besides that, I mean, music takes up pretty much. I'd say 80% of my life. So. I'm pretty limited. Buying clothes or something like that and shoes. I think I'm worse than a woman. I got more clothes than I know what to do with. I usually end up giving T-shirts away after the closet gets full.
Now, if you were able to do time travel, and go back in time, would you do anything different?
If you could time travel, that would be a very interesting thing. I don't think I want to go see the future, so I would probably like to go pop up in the 50s and the 60s when it was kind of an interesting era of the beginnings of rock and roll, the beginnings of what the cool cars were becoming. That's when hot rodding was starting. I think that would be a cool time to pop back to, but it's one of those philosophical questions, what if, but that would be kind of my place to turn back to. I wish I could say that I could go back and change some of the things that happened in life that happened, but that's not in our control. That's the problem,
Yeah. Now, if you ever have time to go on a vacation, you have a favorite vacation spot?
When I travel across the country and I see places, I don't usually get to take a long vacation because I just enjoy traveling. I do a lot of traveling for work, and I usually drive across the country. So my favorite spots in the world have been up in right above Bishop on the 395, going up in NorCal. It's the high Sierras. There's Mammoth area. Bridgeport, Weavining, all that kind of area where it's like God's country. And then I've been out to, like I said, Montana. My friends live out in Three Forks, Montana, which is a real small little place. But when I was out there, it's another place that hit me as God's country. Seattle. I mean, there's places all over the country. I've been to Detroit. I thought Detroit was interesting. And I've been out to Duluth, Minnesota, which was cool. I've been all over the country, so I don't know. It just depends on who you're with and who you're traveling with, and what makes it a special spot. I don't know. I don't fly. If I flew, I would probably want to go to Europe. But one of these days, I have to get my ass on a plane and fly and stop being a puss.
So now, Joe, when did you start your DJ career?
I became a regular DJ for 296 FM Imperial Valley's Music Mix, Jam and Joe. I became one in '92. I walked in at the time. I just left Los Angeles and went to go live with my father for a couple of years and his family. I'm trying to catch up on lost time, and everybody in a week said, dude, you got a great voice. You ever think about radio? So I go, as that was happening, I go, well, geez, that's an omen. So I saw an ad in a newspaper for a news guy on the radio for a country station. So I go, okay, I go talk to this old timer that was there. I talked to him for about half an hour. He goes, you don't want this job. I go, great. I just spent a half hour talking to him. He goes, you need to be a personality for a sister company, which is the DJ up front, Dangerous Dan. I can't remember his last name. Was his name. And we talked for an hour and a half, and he told me if you could use me, he would call me. And I walked out of the studio, said, you'll call me. And my first air shift was on a midnight on a Sunday. And the funny thing about it is I used to go surfing all the time in San Diego, so they had a Q106 radio station. So the first night I'm talking on the radio station, and this is Q96, remember? Hey, Q106 all night long. So my boss calls me up. He goes, you like working for Q106? I go, yeah. He goes, good. You can move your ass to San Diego if you say it one more time. I just remember that was my first yell at and correction. But I ended up on that station. You want to know what's laughing? It was kind of a rap in a funk station. So picture me, a big old long-haired hippie, doing, rap. Here's Dr. Dre, nothing but a G thing, baby. Your mom said to slip into something comfortable, preferably an electric chair. Shit like that all night long. It was a blast, dude. It was the coolest thing for a long time, and I got to talk to a lot of people through that. And also the cool thing about it was I ended up doing drive time. I was the drive time DJ, so that was even cooler. I got to do all kinds of shit. So that was a couple of years into it, and I left it and walked away from it. And I thought about doing it, and then I saw Chris doing something on the Facebook saying, hey, you could run your own show. And I go, I play all these racing things, so in my head I was thinking this would be a cool opportunity to play some King's music and talk to drag racing friends and make this happen. And it actually turned into something even a lot more than I expected. So me and Chris are actually talking about, how we're going to run the station forward and being partners. So I'm pretty stoked to work with Chris. He's a fucking genius, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on it, but that's it. He's the man behind the scenes. So I know he's listening. So Chris, I love you, brother. I hope you continue to do well.
So what are your main challenges as a DJ?
To me, it's just putting the shows together. I mean, Chris laughs because I always got notes now. But with all of my friends that I know and all the people I've met over the years, I've actually, hey, you want to be on my show? And it's like, no problem. So putting it together is good. That's the fun part. And trying to keep it contained in a time limit, which, we originally went 3 hours. Chris says, don't go 3 hours because nobody's going to listen all night, which is probably true. But when you got so many of these people you want to get on the show, I don't know how much time I can get in every week and do a show every night. And how do you do it? Do you do a show every night?
No. Sometimes I take a night off but sometimes I do 2 interviews a night. Like I had one before you.
Go ahead.
There was one before you tonight. I had Pro Mod Driver from
right.
Yeah. So then you were after him. The most I usually do is 2 a night.
Yeah, I mean I probably need to put a little more time into that, doing that. So you could probably look forward to doing another thing like that. But me and Chris were also talking about what's it going to take to get some of the regular radio songs on there, because we don't have the licensing completely 100%, but we are working on that. So if we do that, I'd like to do a Super Suckin' 60 and a Super Suckin' 70 show and gag on all the 70 songs that sucked back then,
Yeah. So now what makes the DJ career interesting to you?
What was that one?
What makes the DJ career interesting to you?
To me, it's just working with people, man. I mean, I'm the kind of cat that really doesn't really think about. I like money. It gets me through where I need to do, but we're all connected. So for me in life, it's all about making the connections to people. you don't know what happens in anybody's life until you start talking to them, and then you can find out that, you know, wow, these guys been through a lot of shit, or these guys have had a great life, and, you know, you get to share a little bit, and that's one thing that's cool about being a DJ. I mean, you know, me and you were talking, you don't know me from what I've done, and it's just kind of cool to share the experiences that I've experienced